So my ex-husband used to be an extreme narcissist, extremely belittling, extremely abusive. And I was extremely naive. And I was somebody who didn't understand what unconditional love looked like. Not because I didn't experience unconditional love, not because I wasn't given unconditional love. I was given love in the best way that anybody could give love when I was little. There were no conditions to the love, but there was a lot of pressure to be the absolute best you could possibly be. And as parents, we tend to do that a lot to our children. We have these extreme high expectations, and that's fine as long as we show up for our children to support them emotionally. As long as we are there for our children to understand that we expect them to be clean and respectful and mature and successful and steadfast in their beliefs. That whatever their version of the universe is their version of the universe. We're not supposed to be here to convince our children to be a certain way. And me coming here and expressing myself this way is very difficult for me because we come from a world where we have to understand a perspective. And when we come from our perspective and our views of things, unless we find clarity as what the truth of these views are, our perspective is skewed by our own personal gain. And I can safely come here today and express my view, my perspective of what's going on, because in the past 2 weeks, I've had a lot of solar plexus, your self-worth, stuff show up in my physical world that has caused me to dive really deep into parts of my healing that I thought I already conquered. So back to my ex-husband. Now, I can tell you right now that at the end of our relationship, I wasn't the nicest person either. I was operating on a very strong basis of fear and defense mechanisms. I took this man's narcissism, which basically the narcissistic behavior when it comes to a relationship comes, the definition of it, or I guess not the official definition, but the definition of it is somebody who is broken to 1,000 pieces, who's operating on fear and who's operating on manipulation and control. They cannot see their own faults, therefore they mirror it on somebody else, and they usually cling on to people that have a low vibration, low self-esteem, low self-worth, that don't understand that they have a really big power in the universe. And I operated, and I still sometimes operate on a very low vibration of lack of self-worth. We all do it. It's a normal thing that people do when you haven't given the tools to operate on a higher vibration, understanding that you're actually in a lot more control than you were ever told that you were. So the first couple of years of my marriage were fine. I fell madly in love. I felt madly in attachment. And there's a big difference between attachment and love. And towards the middle of our marriage, after we got married and we got a house and we had a child, my child became the first thing that I would think about, the first thing that I would put in my list of priorities. And for a narcissistic person, that is a big trigger for them because they're no longer on the priority list like they want to be. So the only way for them to get what they want out of you is to make you feel like you don't love them. And a narcissistic person pressures you to do things you don't want to do. They hold sex over you, or they hold money over you, or they hold your insecurities over you. They are very keen on magnetizing these weaknesses that you haven't figured out. So for me, I went through episodes of being told that I was worthless, being told that I was useless, being told that I was hard to love. And the more that you beat a stick against a tree or the more that you beat a piece of metal against the tree, is as much as the tree wants to be rooted to the ground, as much as the tree wants to be strong enough to hold on, it starts breaking away at the surface of this tree until the tree doesn't really necessarily can't heal himself anymore, or itself anymore, because it's not a male or female, but can't heal itself anymore, and therefore it starts to create a wound. And that's what a narcissistic person does, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. And the person on the other side of it, me, from this wound, starts bleeding everywhere, all over the place, believing that they're not worthy of love, believing that they're not worthy of being held. And this is a struggle for any of us who have come from relationships where we were made to think we weren't worthy. Anybody who was with us that cheated on us, anybody that was with us that had an addiction that they chose over us, anybody who had a job that they chose over us, anything that we have been through and have experienced that has taken away our self-worth. It doesn't have to be a narcissistic ex-husband. It could have been a narcissistic partner. It could have been a neglective mother and father. So my lack of self-worth stems all the way back to my childhood. I was born in a different country. I was taught different beliefs. I had to let go of a lot of really close friends. So it's very difficult for me to understand what close, long-lasting relationships look like because I've never really had them. So I operate in a lot of, I'm not worthy. I'm not worth having these great things. And a lot of us operate from that foundation because we don't understand that we are worth everything that we put out. And the majority of us don't understand that we have to dive deep into this darkness, into like this shadow work. So I've been doing a lot of crying. I cried today. I've been doing a lot of working a lot of hours, which doesn't help in your emotional state in any way either. And I have been really, really diving into this Mercury in retrograde that brings up a lot of really gross things. So if a lot of you are feeling this way, or a lot of you are feeling like what you thought you figured out, you actually haven't, it's not true. You've come really far. What it has to do with is that you have to dive even deeper by disconnecting from those people that might trigger you, from disconnecting to experiences that might trigger you, from disconnecting from anything that might trigger you. My universe, so if I'm going to start crying, and this is big for me. I told the universe that I didn't want any romantic relationships at this point because I know that I have some things that I have to work through. But the universe doesn't respond to what you don't want. The universe responds to what you need. And the universe responds to your vibrational frequency. And if you ask the universe that you want to heal through these traumas and these things that your source knows they're untrue, your spirit knows they're untrue, so they'll bring connections into your life. Like I met somebody for coffee that I was super connected with, and it was a big leap for me because I don't approach people and I don't ask them for their phone numbers. I just don't, it's not something that I do, especially not in a bar. And I made a really cool connection and I felt this really great vibration, and the universal laws that I have to abide by are law of attraction, which I got somebody who I made a really fast soulful connection with, but also the laws of nature, and the laws of timing, divine timing. Divine timing is not your timing. It's a universal timing. You can force to be connected to these people and meet up with these people and want to be with these people and want to hang out with these people, but in divine timing, if the connection is there but the timing is not there, then you have to just sort of let it go. And I had somebody show up in my life that triggered these like excitement connections, like excited feelings about connecting with somebody new, about like going on a date and like really connecting with a human being that is on my vibrational level. And it hit me really hard in my core, because I've been dealing with my core issues and I've been dealing with my solar plexus and my self-worth in the past couple of weeks, when they just disappeared. And it's a universal way of trying to tell us, a universal way of trying to protect us and trying to love us so deeply by telling us, you have come so far and you have manifested exactly what you want to manifest, and you have the power to manifest it. And we've brought it into your life right now because we want you to face what you have left to face and accept the fact that you can go through this bullshit and this nastiness and this healing and this oppression that you feel and this pain, as long as you're sitting in it and crying through it and feeling it and being grossed out in it. And if you're having a bad day, some people say, wow, you are always so happy. To some people that I've crossed paths with, fuck that shit. That's crazy. Nobody's happy all the time. The goal is not to be happy all the time. The goal is to be happy and deal with emotional distresses the healthiest way you can. And the only way you can get there is by really sitting in the grossness of how much pain you feel about being told once or 1,000 times that you were worthless, about being told that your tears don't matter, that you don't matter, that your job doesn't matter, that you don't partake or you're not a good member of this family. And these are things I heard from my ex-husband over and over and over and over again for a number of years. And they still happen to hurt me, and I still have a hard time understanding why I still feel worthless. Even after all the work I've put in, I still feel worthless. And there is nothing wrong with those feelings. If that's what you're feeling, you have to sit in them. You have to sit in them. They're not true. And you know, as far as you've come, that they're not true. So during this Mercury retrograde, and during this time where it's in the planet of truth, you have to not fear the gross parts of your feelings. They're just feelings. And if they're deep-rooted in you, the only way that you yourself can move forward is by dealing with them. And you can do it while you're in a relationship. And you can do it while you're dating. And you can do it while you're connecting with other souls. Actually, you should do it while you're connecting with other souls and while you're accepting these new connections. You should. Because then you can really face and look at what you are really, really trying to deal with and trying to fix and trying to manifest and trying to create. Because it's right in your face. And because somebody disappears, the universe is trying to tell you, well, the divine timing is wrong. You vibrated this incredible human being on paper. Have faith that they actually exist in person. Just face what you need to face first while you're dating these people, so you don't take this shit personally anymore. It's a fucking stranger. Yes, you've made it connected over a cup of coffee and it might have felt like your butterflies had butterflies. Fuck, great. That's a great feeling to have. So you imagine an outcome that wasn't there. That's the part that fucks us up the most, is when we create these outcomes that don't actually exist, and so then we're pissed afterwards that the outcome didn't exist, so we obsess over the outcome that wasn't there instead of looking at the fact that we had a wonderful connection, a wonderful experience, but we're like light years ahead of ourselves at looking at this person like running around in our backyard in the snow with our dog. But it was just one fucking cup of coffee, so when the universe pulls you all the way back to the present moment, you are mourning an idea that wasn't even there. When you're breaking up with people in your life that are pieces of fucking shit and they treat you really badly, and you really feel disgusting and sad about it, you're not mourning that you got rid of somebody that was terrible. You're mourning the idea of what you wanted that relationship to look like. And you're mourning the fact that now you have to deal with how much pain you felt and how broken you are. It's not easy. And you have to just be nicer to yourself. Meditation helps. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to meditate. If you sit quietly and you just focus on your breath, And for every thought that comes into your mind, you just let it go. Set a timer. 3 minutes. Everything's going to work out exactly as you want it to work out. It will. And this feeling that you feel right now, it's only temporary. And we've all gone through traumas. We all have to recover from them and rejoice in them and grow from them and have faith that in divine timing with the law of attraction and being grateful. And in our journey, time is a construct that is not real. Time is just created by our egos. It's limitless. We're eternal. You have to believe it. And you have to have faith in it. And you have to believe that you are worthy, regardless of what anybody else has made you feel in this lifetime. We can be mean to one another as human beings when we don't know how to deal with our feelings and our traumas. So be better. And for your kids, love them. Teach them respect and love and let them have their own imagination. You're not here to put ideas in their heads. You're just here to guide them. And then if they believe that they have wings and they believe that God talks to them, just listen to them. All right, guys. Thank you. This was a deep one. Love you. Okay, I'm here. Love and light always. Bye, guys.